Rhoda was a groundbreaking sitcom that showed a female character navigating through the complexities of modern life. Valerie Harper, who played Rhoda, made waves with this show. It lasted 5 seasons for 110 episodes. Yet, despite a successful start, the latter of these 110 episodes weren't watched as much. So, what went wrong? Join Facts First to learn about the Rhoda episode which single-handedly ruined the series. How Rhoda Got Her Start. Rhoda ran from September 9, 1974 to December 9, 1978. It was created by James L. Brooks and Alan Burns and broadcast on CBS. The show followed Rhoda Morgenstern, a character we first met on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. She was played by Valerie Harper, who gave one of the most memorable performances of any female character in a sitcom. The character was so popular, audiences wanted to see more of her after The Mary Tyler Moore Show ended. The show Rhoda was a successful spin-off from that show. It followed Rhoda as she navigated her life in the busy streets of Manhattan. The show came at a time when many female-oriented sitcoms were taking the country by storm. This was the show American audiences wanted to see, a complete contrast to the more traditional shows from the 50s and 60s. Valerie Harper is still remembered for her role as Rhoda, and the sitcom is still remembered fondly by fans today. Before we tell you more about it, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Rhoda and Joe. The show began with Rhoda leaving Minneapolis and returning to her native New York City. She only intends to stay a little while and meet her sister Brenda, but ends up staying for good. Through Brenda, Rhoda meets a man named Joe Girard. Joe is a divorcee with a 10-year-old son named Donnie. They end up dating during Rhoda's vacation, and eventually Joe asks Rhoda to stay in New York City so they can be together. All of this happened in the pilot episode, which was simply called Joe. That's how important the relationship between Rhoda and Joe was for the show. While the focus was on a young woman achieving her dreams, it was also crucial for the producers and writers to have a love interest to add to the dynamic of the show. When the pilot episode aired, it set a record for being the first pilot to reach a #1 on the Nielsen ratings. It was an instant success, and it was estimated American audiences would want to see what Rhoda was up to for quite some time. Eventually, Rhoda moves into her parents' home, as Brenda's apartment is too small. Rhoda gets married. Eventually, Rhoda and Joe become so close that Rhoda felt it was time for them to get married. On October 28, 1974, an hour-long episode aired that depicted Rhoda and Joe's wedding. This was perhaps one of the most advertised TV episodes in American sitcom history. It actually was the most popular TV episode in American history until its record was beaten by Roots in 1977. The show won praise from audiences and critics alike. It seemed Rhoda was unstoppable, and now she had Joe on her side. And indeed it was. Rhoda continued to rise in the ratings and find new audiences again and again. It was one of America's most popular shows until it wasn't. This Rhoda episode single-handedly ruined the series. The episode where Rhoda and Joe got married was watched by over 52 million Americans. At the time, this was over half of the population who owned TV sets. It was such a phenomenon that families and groups of friends across the country gathered together to watch the episode. To this day, it remains one of the most popular TV show episodes of all time. It's on par with Who Shot JR and the final episode of MASH. There was much hype for the episode. The episode prior to the wedding episode was entitled The New Sue Ann. It discussed the upcoming wedding, and this is what caused Americans to free up their schedules to watch Rhoda's wedding. The show continued to be a success after Rhoda's wedding. However, there was soon a rift that caused it to fall apart. One of the driving factors behind Rhoda was that it was a female-oriented sitcom, which was all the rage at the time. There was a desire among creators and audiences alike for gripping stories revolving around women. It was decided that Rhoda should focus more on, well, Rhoda and not Rhoda and Joe. In the first episode of the 3rd season, Rhoda and Joe have a huge fight and decide to separate. The rest of the episodes of the 3rd season almost made you forget you were watching a sitcom and made you think you were watching a serious drama. After all the fighting, Rhoda tells Joe that if their marriage doesn't work, she's going to start dating other men. Joe tells her to go ahead, and then we don't see him after 9 episodes. The producers and the show's writers thought this was a great idea. Audiences did not. Hanging in there. The first episode of the 3rd season of Rhoda is what ruined the series. Audiences had fallen in love with the couple, and to see them fight was a huge and unwelcome shocker. Loyal fans sent angry letters to CBS. It was clear audiences loved both Rhoda and Joe and wanted to see them together. The show's creative team had to find a way to continue the show, even though ratings and viewership were plummeting. In the 4th season, Rhoda and Joe have gotten divorced, and Rhoda has now returned back to using her maiden name. She's also much slimmer, as Valerie Harper went on a liquid diet at the time and lost 40 pounds. She also finds a new job at a costume store and is eager to remain independent. While season 4 was a hit, it wasn't as successful as previous ones. It was clear there was still an interest in Rhoda, but it was also clear the interest was fading. The show's producers had to act fast and find a way to revive the show. In the 5th season, they tried to create more interesting stories around Rhoda, but without Joe, the show wasn't a success. It was canceled after the 5th season, and we never heard from Rhoda again. The aftermath. Sadly, we lost Valerie Harper in 2019, only a few days after her 80th birthday. She'd been battling cancer for several years. Upon her passing, a new interest in Rhoda came about. While she was a versatile actress with a great number of films and TV shows under her belt, it was clear the character of Rhoda was one of her best performances. And although the show wasn't a success in later years, the first 2 seasons are still remembered fondly. So how should we look back at Rhoda today? We can remember it as a groundbreaking sitcom and one of the first that put a female character in the spotlight. With Rhoda, Valerie Harper paved the way for a new generation of TV actresses. Rhoda still has reruns today and is available on streaming platforms. It's still watched by legions of fans who remember tuning in for Rhoda's wedding in 1974. Now it's time to hear from you. Were you a fan of Rhoda? Did you watch it until the end? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Facts First as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts First, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from Facts First or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.